Hey everybody, this is Hollywood from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and you're listening to the Card Subject to Change podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Have a good day. Bye.
Well, sometimes love feels just right. It feels so real. It feels just like a pile driver. Yeah, a pile driver. That's what I'm talking about.
So me personally, I'm actually a lifer. I don't remember a time that I wasn't watching professional wrestling. Even my mom explains it to me as when I was a small child, you know, I would just stop in front of the TV and just sit and watch, and I'd just be quiet. It just totally zoned in. So I always been a wrestling fan. And as I get older and even learn more about the business, it's like I continue to fall in love with it for different reasons.
Just it blows my mind. And I'm like tugging on my mom's pants and stuff, and I'm like, Mom. And she's like, yeah, what? And I go, I want to do that. And I'm like pointing at the TV. Well, she looks and she goes, oh, you want to be like Macho Man and wear the cool sunglasses and say, oh yeah, and do the elbow drop? And I go, no, I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Yeah.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Of course, I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. It wouldn't be official if my tag team partner wasn't here. Co-tag champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. My tag team partner, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm hoping we can make it through this without falling asleep. We've been hard working today with our earlier episode and this one.
Yeah, we've been booked. We double booked ourselves, but that's not a problem. It's a benefit to you, the listener, and thank you for tuning in. If you didn't catch our earlier episode today, you can go to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and look up our discussion with Eric Esnight. The Chosen One was in studio earlier today, but we're here and talking about the here and now, and we have up-and-coming wrestler known in the indie scene as Matt Hatter. Matt, thank you for joining the Card Subject to Change show, and welcome to the studio.
Heyo, thank you for having me, guys.
We're glad to have you, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to treat you like I treat all the other first-timers on here. I'm going to ask the important question. What got you hooked on professional wrestling? What got you into it, and it's kept you here?
So I grew up in the 90s, so I watched 90s wrestling with my dad. So my dad was always Hulk Hogan shirt, and I was Macho Man, flamboyant, and hitting each other with the cushions for chairs and stuff. And like watched it all the way up until about high school when it, wasn't cool anymore. And skateboarding took over. And then became an adult, and my friend was just like adamant that I watch the Bullet Club. I hadn't watched wrestling in like 10 years. I Shield because that was cool, and I love Dean Ambrose's energy. But like just kind of passively. And then he finally like sat me down. He's like, no, you're watching this. And he just showed me like 20 matches of just Bullet Club stuff. Showed me AJ Styles, got us watching, my wife and I watching WWE again through AJ Styles. And then all of a sudden, like, COVID happened and we had nothing to do. And I was driving my wife insane. So I was friends with some of the local wrestlers here in Sterling. And I was just talking to them and did that, like, do you think I could do it? And then my friend goes, don't know until you try. And then training during COVID was interesting.
Sure.
Christian Rose was my initial trainer, but COVID. So I trained with Rose, and then COVID happens. So it became like a piecemeal of like who we could get to come train for a day. And then just a lot of just repetition in a ring. If I didn't have a trainer that day, I would just run drills. And so once I started wrestling and figuring it out and realized like how this whole thing operates and like the relationship you have with the crowd, with your opponents and all of that, I was like, I'm never going to not do this.
Talk about that time during COVID. You finally decide to start wrestling. You're excited. You're eager to learn. And then COVID happens, and it makes it difficult to train and to do stuff on the regular. Talk about the mindset and going through that, how it's made you, a better wrestler, a better person now that you've got that behind you.
I think a lot of it was like the benefit of it was being like having a head trainer like Rose, and then having just so many different perspectives and different mentalities when it comes to wrestling teach me throughout my training process has kind of allowed me to just be so adaptable to the environments. Like, just especially like everybody was storytelling driven wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me is the fun part. Like, if you want me to put on like an 8-minute match with one of my friends for a good match, cool. We'll just tell a good face versus face, heel versus heel. But like, I like the long form. I like, like, hey, let's, we had a match like a year ago. Let's pull some of that footage and use it. Like, I like that intertwining of everything that's wrestling. And so like having all of those perspectives and how they operate in the ring, how they operate out of the ring, just really shaped my style of wrestling, which is, I'm the mad. Like, you don't actually know what to expect when you watch me wrestle.
So it's safe to say you love a good storyline. You appreciate a good storyline and everything that feeds into it makes it a good match. Give me a storyline that really sticks out to you from your past, not you, that you watched, that you really like. Wow, I like what they're doing there. I want to do that.
I think a really good one was when Dean Ambrose was betrayed by the Shield. Yep. And being completely isolated. Because I remember, like, I was just walking by something. I just see Dean Ambrose in blue jeans and a white tank top just getting the holy hell beat out of him. And then he goes in and wrestles a match. I'm like, that dude's a badass. And, like, that made me, I was like, oh, like, wrestling's not lame anymore. Like, that was cool. Like, that's believable. And he's hurting. And, like, the whole match is just, like, him, like, surviving. And then, like, I was like, that's really cool. And so, like, I just like that, like, oh, you can get the hook in there early. They want the crowd wants to go for a ride, and I enjoy taking them for that ride.
All right, so let me follow up to that. Obviously, you're a sucker for a good story. We are too here at the Card Subject to Change. We love hearing stories. Talk about the birth of Matt Hatter. How he came to be. I know you've got the vest and the hat behind you. You're going to have to put that hat on for us at some point. But how did Matt Hatter come into existence?
My very first day of training, I had a wrestler by the name of Buck Nasty, wrestles Dreamwave. First thing he told me was, don't watch wrestling to figure out what you want to be. Watch your favorite movies, read your favorite comics, whatever, play your favorite video games. When something feels right, figure that out. And so, like, I've always loved Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favorite stories. I loved the Johnny Depp version. And I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean with my kids, and I saw Johnny Depp running like that. And then they were like, well, there goes our dad, because that's just when I'm just an obnoxious person in general. I love entertaining. I've always been that way. So, like, when they said that, I was like, okay, like, I'll just dig into the obnoxiousness. And then Alice in Wonderland came on, and I was like, my real initials are MAD. Like, that is my initial. And I was like, well, you got the RKO. I started listing off all the initials, KO. Like, I'll just use initials. And Johnny Depp, I guess. Like, in at least the flamboyant.
What was it like, or what did it feel like when that breakthrough moment came, when the light went on, like, this is what I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do?
It kind of, like, I still feel like I fell into my gimmick just because of my personality type and
sure
being bad. But, like, cool, like, I have something to work with. and then it took forever for me to figure out how to actually wrestle with the character. And so like it's still ever evolving, but like that kind of process was just like I have something here, but I don't know what to do with it. And so it was like that for a long time because like I was just still learning how to wrestle in front of a crowd, and just like we just stopped COVID. So like now all of a sudden I'm debuting and I have a crowd, and I've never done that before. So then just letting that evolve naturally, and just taking, just sitting in the locker room listening, just taking little bits and pieces, and just be obnoxious.
Well, I mean, wrestling and characters are always evolving, correct? You're always changing. But once you got to where you are now, do you feel like this is the most that Mad Hatter is going to be, or you feel like there's some more untapped things that you haven't got into yet for your character?
No, definitely this is not it. Like I've gotten comfortable being me in the ring, being, that just like turned up to 11, whatever that looks like. And now it's pulling in the storylines. Okay, what part of like it's the Mad Hatter, so there's all kinds of different psychological disorders that I can play with, based off of me being neurodivergent, OCD, ADHD, all that stuff. What story do I want to play with that disorder or whatever that is that I can work with that showcases that side? So I could have 3 different storylines going with 3 different, almost not personalities, but 3 different aspects of it. And so I'm really playing with that. And then once I figure that out, it's like, okay, what's the next stage? And just keep steamrolling.
We're talking here with Matt Hatter on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. You're known for, some of your work in Zawa. Talk about working there with Zawa and some of the people you worked with, and how that's made you and a better wrestler, made you to what you are now.
That's my emotion. So that was where my first ever matches were, my first ever no disqualifications, and having a home base to play from, and the crowd there, it's they love their homegrown wrestlers. So they almost kind of help you get that initial gauge of what if I'm doing something right, if I'm doing something wrong. Sure. They're there to watch their wrestlers grow, and it's a really cool place to have. We have the TDC guys, how do they say it? TDC guys with Christian Rose, and you got Berna, Connor Hopkins, and Damian Death Change. You have those guys there that come in and out, and they wrestle all over, and so they bring in knowledge. It's a cool place because just the traveling wrestlers all just come home and then just spread that love.
Sure.
We're talking about you bring up Christian Rose. I know him being your trainer. You had a match with him recently. What was it like going into a match with, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to use a term that others have used on our podcast, your wrestle dad?
Wrestle dad. That actually tracks. My favorite look I get from him is when I know he's checking out because what I'm saying is great while doing it. Yeah, wrestle dad works. Nerve-wracking, because I hadn't wrestled him yet, and I had been wrestling for 3 years at that point, and it was it wasn't just okay, here I'm going to teach you. It's I have to show you everything I've learned since you taught me. And also it's he's now the former Dreamwave champion, but he was the Dreamwave champion for a year. I have to meet that standard, and all of that. It was very, very nervous going into that. It's there's a standard there that you have to meet, and that's kind of intimidating.
Do you feel like you lived up to meeting that standard?
I do. And the way I took from that is not only could I perform alongside him, but like now I know where I am as far as my skill level, what I need to work on. I know I now have a bar that I can now just adjust higher.
We had Christian on a few weeks ago, and he was a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of stories. He's your trainer. He had a nice long run in Dreamwave as a champ. He just recently dropped the title. What's your favorite Christian Rose story you can share with us that, whether it's funny one, something you learned from him while training, maybe something you learned while wrestling from? What's your favorite Christian Rose story that you like to tell?
Okay. Rose is walking around the venue, like trying to think, and then he just goes, "Oh, damn it, I'm motivated," and then just storms off in a direction. And for whatever reason, like he has this like ability to, like, when he's like headstrong about going somewhere, everybody just gets out of his way. It's always fun to watch. Like, so my wife and I left our debit card at Dreamwave. And every time like they sent it to us, it got kicked back in the mail and everything. So like we didn't have it for 3 weeks. Rose is walking through the venue, through the crowd with our debit card in hand, just going, "I don't want this responsibility. Take the card." It was like this.
Delivered by the world champ at the time, right?
My opponent's here. Hi, Rose.
Oh, that's
you
good.
You are tuned into the Card Subject to Change podcast. If you're new to the podcast, give us a like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're sitting down with Matt Hatter, and Matt, you were talking about Dreamwave. Let's just go ahead and go there next. You had a match at the latest Dreamwave show against Florida Man. Talk about that match, that build up, and what it was like stepping into the big stage on the Dreamwave at the Dreamwave show.
It was, again, like Dreamwave's a whole different production level. Like that in of itself is just, and having like everybody was on the card, like Rose versus Gringo Loco in a cage, like feeling like we're the pre-show, we're setting the standard. Again, it's like setting the standard of what you're about to watch. And we told an awesome story, honestly. Like the crowd loves Florida Man there, but I definitely got their attention, and they were very vocal about that match, and they really enjoyed it. So that was really cool to like be done with the match and be like, cool, like I just wrestled in front of a Dreamwave crowd and got all the reactions. We got all of these reactions. Like that's really cool. And then go and watch, a really good Dreamwave show. Like that was awesome.
I've been to a few Dreamwave shows myself, and I feel like that crowd's a good barometer of liking good wrestling, understanding a good story being told. That's got to feel good to get in front of that audience, be the first match of the night, be the one to set the table, and to get that response on that stage.
Right. And even looking back at the footage and having all those banners around you, the way the ring's set up, the guard, it's just like, holy crap, like I just wrestled a TV show. Like that's
right.
Every wrestler wants to do. Like that's with their action figures, what we were displaying, and like going and doing it, like that's super cool.
Oh, no doubt. And always you're a few years into the business. Obviously, you're always learning in whatever aspect of life you're in, whether it's in the ring, whether it's in your shoot job, as they say. What did you talk about some of the things you learned being at the Dreamwave show, both in the ring maybe and being with that group, that locker room? Talk about some of the things you've learned, you take away from being at the Dreamwave show.
The locker room's great because, again, wealth of knowledge, and they like sharing it. So like better ways to take care of my body, stretches I should do for certain injuries. Just like, here's how you wrestle for a long time. Like, even like the psychology of like I like brawling on the outside, but like the psychology of when to do it, where to do it, what moves to do. Just business aspects from these guys that are full-time wrestlers, you know, how to handle your money, how to reinvest in yourself, where to invest in yourself, when the right times are, or if just anytime you just sit down there and just listen, you're taking away just wealth of knowledge from all of these guys from all over the world. It's really like I love just sitting in there and listening.
For sure, for sure.
We're here with Matt Hatter on the Card Subject to Change podcast by the fan for the fan. We're powered by Lowe's Pike Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Matt, I want to go back to something you talked about a little while ago when you were drawn to Dean Ambrose after he got booted out of the Shield, and you liked that storyline. What was there any show that you would watch repeatedly growing up? CZ and I we're soldiers from the old tape trading days and used to go rent videos at the video store and swap DVDs and stuff. What was one show that you would go back to over and over again, possibly just watch to pass the time, or just watch because you enjoyed?
As a kid, it was a lot of the backyard stuff. Like as a teenager, it was the backyard stuff.
Sure.
You like stuff like, because it was just, you know, I'm the skater kid, Jackass. My friends and I would all get together just to watch Jackass, and then you tape or something like that. And then all of a sudden, like, what was the game? There was a video game, a backyard wrestling video game that had like ICP and a bunch of like the CZW guys. Out of that, but like that, it was either that or it was always Attitude Era. Anything Attitude Era. We did watch anything Attitude Era forever.
What grabs you now? What do you gravitate towards now as being in the ring? What are you watching currently?
A lot of GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. We're pretty active on that. Independents, like a lot of the local independents in the area, just, you know, watching what people are doing, how the crowds are. Black Label Pro, just like a lot of the independents, and like I keep up with WWE and AEW because, you know, that's the big leagues, and I like the storytelling on WWE right now is great, but like that's so much wrestling that there's just so much of it now, which is an awesome thing. It's amazing.
Yep.
But now it's, what are you going to actually watch, and what are you going to just keep up on until the big show?
It is a wonderful time to have so much. Some people would say it's oversaturation. I wouldn't say that. I would say there's so many options. And you're right. It's like, what do I want to keep up with? And back in the day, it really wasn't. You didn't have that many choices, and now you do, and it's a wonderful thing.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to take a.
What's
go ahead, Nick. No, you go ahead.
You mentioned GCW, Matt Hatter, and that's somewhere I could see you as a wrestling wrestler or your wrestling character, book yourself in a GCW match. Who's it against? I want to know what would be your dream your Matt Hatter matchup in GCW. Who would you want to go in there and face?
Jimmy Lloyd.
Good choice.
He was the first, like recently, now that, you know, back watching wrestling again, like he was the first death match I just immediately gravitated to. Like the attitude, the way he was, the way he's like he just pulled me in immediately. So that would be, that would be my dream match. Everybody's gonna want to watch it. If you're wrestling in GCW, Nick Gage. Like just to have a match of that caliber with Nick Gage, just what I will walk away from. Like even like when I helped out at a GCW show, like very like, hey, I want you to teach me this. Okay. And then just laid everything out for you to take that home with you. Like, it's really,
Sure.
those guys very much love this business, and just learning from the people in that locker room. Either or Marcus Mathers or Dylan McKay. I love watching them wrestle. So like that fast pace and heavy hitting, like that would be a lot of fun. Just constant movement of wrestling, that would be a lot of fun.
Maybe see you in a future tag match on Dreamwave against Wasted Youth.
That would be amazing.
That would be cool. I would be down for that. I would be down for that.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. Well, gentlemen, let's take a quick time out. We got to pay dues to our sponsors. Always got to make sure we keep our podcast tribal chief in a good mood and good spirits. So we'll be back here in just under 2 minutes and more with Matt Hatter here on Card Subject to Change.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Card Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For Frequency's Sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
We're glad to have you here on the Card Subject to Change podcast. Our guest this week is Matt Hatter. And I guess a question I wanted to ask in the first part of the show, but it fails me to get here now. What is someone who's never seen Matt Hatter wrestle before? What are they going to see when they buy a ticket, sit down, and take in one of your matches?
ADHD let loose.
I like that, dude. That's a t-shirt idea right there.
I love
All
it.
it is. Like, I go out there and I'm obnoxious for the entertainment of others. Like, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Who do you? I'm sorry, the words I was trying to use escape me. Who do you garner inspiration from? Who, as you grew up watching wrestling, as you watch wrestling now, who do you take notes from that motivates you to be better? Who are your inspirations?
Number one's always going to be Mick Foley. I mean, just the way he did the multiple characters, the wrestling style of, I'm going to hurt me more than you're going to hurt me, or I'm going to hurt you. The way psychology, the way he operated, the fact that he could go do a hardcore match in the morning and then go be the best Santa Claus ever that night, like, you know, like that's the dream, you know, like,
Yeah, very dynamic.
yeah, it's how much he just loves people in general is really cool, because you don't see that a whole lot anymore. And he's just like such a genuine person. And then recently, obviously, you know, John Moxley, Dean Ambrose, Danhausen. Like I watched him a lot to help. That was like the whole like who is going to be Matt Hatter. I liked how like just over the top, how over the top Danhausen is, and so that's what, okay. Like I see this, and like how do I blend all three of those now?
You talk about Danhausen here. You're right. He is probably one of the more, if not the most over the top character right now, character-driven wrestler out there. I think he's coming to Dreamwave pretty soon too. So maybe the paths cross. Maybe the Matt Hatter crosses paths with Danhausen.
I would love that. That would also be. I don't know if the world would be ready for how obnoxious that would be.
And that's how you can build that match, the most obnoxious match ever.
Yes, more about that.
So the question there is, it's very hit and miss whether his curses succeed. Is Danhausen going to be able to curse Matt Hatter?
Well, it depends on the nature of his curses. Like, are you doing like intelligence roll checks? Are you doing wisdom checks? Like, what are going for? Because Matt Hatter's not really all there anyways, so it all depends on how his curses work.
That's fair. That's a good answer. I like that.
I like that too.
Danhausen, if you're watching, look out for Matt Hatter. You're probably not going to be able to curse him based on what he just said, in my opinion.
All the time. I don't think curses go through hats.
That's a good way to look at it.
Maybe line it with some tin foil just to be safe.
Just
if you ever, when you step in the ring, yeah, just in case.
But on the outside, I need everybody in foil.
Matt, I'm gonna ask my new favorite question. The expression is iron sharpens iron. Talk about a match, an opponent that you've had that just has brought the best out of you, and even taking you one step beyond what your best was before stepping in the ring with them.
Down. That one changed how I do so much. Just having that level of expertise and being able to listen in real time with around him. But that was definitely trajectory. Another time was when I got to be in the ring with Dysfunction and Yanni GQ. I think it was a tag team 4-way,
yep.
And just be in there and feeling that and working around them. That was also that's a really good second place. Also, like, especially in front of the ICW crowd like that was definitely a barometer. Again, one of those matches that was a barometer of where I was compared to where I wanted to be.
For sure.
When we bring up Christian Rose because he trained you and we had him on here a few weeks ago. He said, his spirit animal is a coyote. And when he figured that out, it made him a better wrestler. He goes, that's what I would tell other wrestlers, is to figure out what animal you are when you're out there. What animal is Matt Hatter when he's out there in the ring? Or what animal would Matt Hatter be if he had a spirit animal?
That is a good question. First one that comes to mind is a fox. Everybody likes foxes.
I like that.
So,
yeah.
But they're playful. They're, you have all these TikToks and everything of how they can be like playful with other animals and everything like that. But they're also very devious. And
yes, they are.
They are very aware of their surroundings. So like you don't always know when a fox is near you. Also, like they're also not afraid to fight.
That's a good point. I like that. It's a good answer. Full of good answers here on the show today. And I like that, man. I like that. You gathering yourself there?
I had something come up in my
I
throat.
see
I
you.
apologize.
Matt, where can
No.
we see you wrestling here coming up in the next few weeks? Where can the fans see you? Where are you going to be? Any significant matchups that are coming up for you in the coming weeks?
I actually have a street fight with Mike Hartenbauer at the Poorhouse Tap in Comanche, Iowa on July 5th.
Okay.
That's already going to be one of those top matches where I'm going to learn a lot about a lot of things.
So wait, you're going to be in a fight with Hartenbauer, and Hartenbauer is going to be surrounded with beer. Man, you might be going into enemy territory.
Beer and everything that comes with a street fight. Oh, I already know. Like when they told me about the match, I'm like, well, that's gonna hurt. I'm in.
So July 5th in Comanche, Iowa, with Mike Hartenbauer.
Yep.
Indie legend, of course, a Dreamwave veteran. We've seen Hartenbauer perform many times, and I think he's just one of those underrated guys out there that always puts on a solid match, always pours his heart and soul into it. And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be the same in this match too, is it not?
Absolutely. And Hartenbauer is again people like I think growing up in the Zawa locker room and growing up in wrestling the way I did, having Hartenbauer there, he's another one of those people that constantly downloading information and teaching.
Sure.
Whether it's in an actual training scenario or, hey, I want you to watch this. You'll take away from this, like just all aspects of that. So like, again, it's another barometer check of where am I at versus where I think I'm at, or where am I at versus where I want to be. And a street fight with Hartenbauer is definitely going to be a gut check for me, for sure. Because I was ringside when he tagged with Mike Bennett against Second Gear Crew. Mm-hmm. I watched that ringside, so I'm like, all right,
I know what I'm getting myself into.
How does a person mention something that's crazy? Like, I don't know.
Well, that should be easy for you since the craziness seems kind of inherent with who you are.
I don't know, just I guess drink a bunch of red and blue dyes that day and just let it loose.
Yes.
Besides the Hartenbauer fight on July 5th, any other matches, or where can we see you coming up?
Obviously check out Dreamwave in August. I have a couple Zawa shows coming up this summer. Zawa's on their summer tour with just all the fair shows around the area.
Sure.
ICW is coming up in July. That's like 3 weeks from now. I'm bouncing around everywhere. It's getting to be a pretty big summer, and that's pretty cool.
Talk about where our watchers, our listeners can find you on social media if they want to follow you, if they want to see some of your matches.
I'm starting to set up my YouTube channel now, so I'll post on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is Matt Hatter. Instagram is Matt Hatter Pro. I post clips pretty regularly and pictures. So those are the two places you'll find me most. I don't like X.
Hey, that's okay. I hear that. You're not the only person that comes on here and say, I don't do too much with X. It's mostly Facebook and Instagram. I hear you there.
Yeah, I already have enough mental issues as it is. Like, I don't need to add.
Right. Where, this is kind of a tough question and kind of an open-ended question, but where does Matt Hatter see himself in 3 to 5 years? What's the 3 to 5 year plan? I know every wrestler's got a different plan, where they want to be, how they want to be seen, exposure type stuff like that. What is your, ideal 3 to 5 year plan or projection?
I'm in year 3 of my original 3 to 5 year plan. So by year 3, I wanted to have like pretty good interaction and relationship with Dreamwave. I want at least regular, regular motion to work for. And, especially since summer is a busy season, my goal is to have my third year of wrestling the whole summer.
Yep.
Something every weekend.
Good.
And so that's where I'm at now. My 5 years, I wrestle wave regularly. Try and get get some time with NWA or Impact. Help learn from there. AAW is another one I really want to learn from that production side.
Yep.
Because for me, it's not just the wrestling; it's the whole thing. I can only wrestle for so long, but I want to be in wrestling forever. So, 10, 15, 20 years from now, when I'm like, hey, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore, I can still produce and I can still do all these things. So I'm trying to get into more heavily produced places to learn that aspect as well.
That's a very interesting point, and that's something you don't hear. So it makes me believe you're wise. You're wise wise more than your years, because you don't hear a lot of young guys saying, "Hey, I want to learn the production side too. I want to see what it's like," because wrestling's not going to be there forever. Eventually we all get old, right? And we got to move on to something else. But that's cool that you want to get into that and also be a part of that too. And it's such a key deal to what wrestling is now and how wrestling is portrayed now, is how it's produced and stuff like that. So I like that. I like that you said that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot before we wrap things up here. I told you I wanted to see you in the hat. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pretend it's right before the match against Hartenbauer. I want you to cut the worst promo you can on him right now.
The worst promo?
Or the best promo.
All of my promos. Mike. Proved myself that I can hang with Christian Rose. So now I'm going to prove myself that I can hang with you where you operate best. The thing that you might understand is that is also my environment. See, on July 5th, the worst promo, July 5th, I'm going to prove to you that street fights are my wonderland. And no disqualifications. That's my tea and crumpets. See you soon, buddy.
Awesome.
I love it, dude. I'm gonna start having a hat right here. I'm gonna call it the promo hat, and I'm gonna slip it on and start cutting promo. That was, dude, you snapped right into it. I love it. It was great.
That was fantastic. Oh man.
Well, man,
I want to thank you so much.
I'll speak for my partner here
ahead.
and say you're welcome back here anytime. We had a great time chopping it up and talking wrestling with you. Looking forward to meeting you in person and seeing you wrestle for sure. I am. I've heard the name a lot. I just haven't been able to see you on a show, but I am looking forward to it. And knowing the fact that we know you a little bit here from the show, we root for you a little harder here too. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing you and meeting you in person, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys.
For sure.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say,
Thank you so much. I was just going to thank him for coming on the show. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you got busy stuff with family like Nick does. I could talk wrestling 24/7 if you put me to it. I might fall asleep in the middle of the conversation for a little bit, but thank you so much for taking time out of your day, coming on to the podcast. We appreciate you. And like Nick said, come back, check in with us. Let's see where you are in a few months and how things are going for you.
Absolutely. I'd love to come, guys.
Well, that's going to put a bow on our double shot weekend. Go back in our archives if you want to check out the interview with Eric Esnight. I want to thank Matt Hatter for coming on board again. For my partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. Next week, we'll be reviewing Forbidden Door, AEW's Forbidden Door. And then the week after that, we've got a Money in the Bank, and I believe it's Heat Wave, correct, Nick?
Yep, that's
Is it
NXT
NXT
Heat
show?
Wave the night after Money in the Bank. So busy couple of weeks coming up here of review shows. We hope you come back to join us. We just nailed our double shot weekend with Matt Hatter and Eric Esnight. Happy to do that. But like you said, we got Forbidden Door and Money in the Bank coming up on the horizon.
Absolutely. If you are a first-time watcher or listener, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
If you're one of our longtime listeners, we appreciate you too. Be sure to give us a follow on Facebook, a subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody about Card Subject to Change. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook, Country Financial. We will see you right here next week on Card Subject to Change. Thanks for tuning in.